The government has apologised for the failure to properly commemorate black and Asian soldiers who died fighting for Britain.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about this report that just came out, and it's from Commonwealth War Graves Commission, and what they found out is deeply disturbing.
At cemeteries and plots around the world, their sacrifice is commemorated with dignity and attention, names inscribed so that we may remember. But not all names. Tens of thousands of black and Asian soldiers fought and died for Britain. But when it came to marking their sacrifice, it was done differently, or collectively, or not at all. It was, says the government, a terrible mistake.
I had to watch multiple reports about this, but BBC, I have to say, is as bad as usual. Somehow they keep saying tens of thousands of African and Asian soldiers. But then in the same report they say this.
The committee's report found that at least 116,000 and perhaps as many as 350,000 of those who died serving the forces of the then British Empire remain uncommemorated.
So they keep doing the same thing. The problem here is that they didn't give credit to the soldiers who died, but then in the same report they're undermining the number of the soldiers. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of Asians and African soldiers, not tens of thousands. This inquiry by the Commission was set up in 2019, and the only reason why this is actually happening is because Channel 4 released a documentary that was called Unremembered, and in that documentary the presenter was David Lammy, who is now a Labour MP in UK. Now the report found out, as said before, that over 100,000 soldiers were not commemorated at all, and they found mass graves all over the world. And it was a systematic approach that they took the white soldiers and their bodies out, and then they would put black and Asian people in mass graves all over the world, and they didn't absolutely have no care for them at all. Now, this is only about World War I. They are now going to do another inquiry about World War II.
Constantly reminded of the sacrifices of young British white men. Yet more than 4 million non-European and non-white soldiers and auxiliaries participated in the war. This included 1.5 million from British India, more than 2 million from French colonies in Africa and Indochina, 400,000 African Americans, 100,000 Chinese laborers.
Now those numbers are from World War I. In World War II, 1.3 million Africans fought. So it's even more than in World War I. And another thing is that they don't even count all the laborers, all the miners, all the people who were giving them natural resources and others when they were stealing them. They didn't pay for any of that. I personally think this is deeply shocking and disturbing. I mean, it doesn't matter how racist you are, it doesn't matter how less you think of people. But when somebody sacrifices their life to save you, this is not how you treat that person or those people. These soldiers had nothing to do with this war, and they still laid their lives down. They sacrificed everything they had. They left their families. And what did they get in return? Well, they were put into mass graves to be found 100 years later. And that's sad. It is truly sad and shocking. And what is even worse is that even though I'm complaining about this, even though I'm saying that Britain and UK did wrong here, I know what the French did are even worse.
Today, December 1st, 2019, marks exactly 75 years after the grand massacre of African colonial soldiers who fought to liberate France during the European Tribal War, also known as the Second World War.
That's a shocking fact. But French, after the World War II, they killed some of those soldiers that saved them. Those soldiers that fought to protect them and fought to free them from the German rule, they actually killed them in military camps, committed massacre and a genocide of their own soldiers just because they were African and black. Now we can compare this, by the way, to Haitian Revolution. During that revolution, Polish people were brought by the French to the island, and they were supposed to fight the Haitian revolutionaries. But the Polish, when they saw how brutal the French were, and they saw these people fighting for their freedom and fighting for independence and for some sort of like human life, the Polish people joined them. So they switched sides and fought against the French. So what did the Haitians do after they got their independence? Well, they gave the Polish a citizenship, and they actually changed the constitution that they were planning to write, and they added Polish people in their constitution. And not only that, they gave them land, and their people and their descendants are still living on those lands. So they honored them in every way they could because they knew that these people were helping them. Now compare that to this. They gave them land, and the British, even though all that money they had, they weren't human enough to give them a piece of stone, a worthless stone that just had the names there, so that their children and their families could visit them in the future there. I mean, that's the humane thing to do. But instead of that, the British said that they are too animalistic to realize the value of a grave. That's what they thought. They thought that these people don't care about graves or anything like that. They are animals. Just throw them in that mass grave because nobody cares. And they actually said that. I'm not making this stuff up. You can read the report. Anyways, this is at least a start, and I hope in future those African and Asian soldiers will be given a proper respect that they deserve. We can only hope for that. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Please, if you like this video, subscribe and like.